Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin podcast. I'm so glad you're here and you're listening to the podcast. I really appreciate you. I know I say it all the time, and I will continue to say it because without you listening, we won't have a podcast. And because you've been such a faithful listener, we've been ranked in the top 5% of all podcasts globally, according to Listen Notes. So thank you for doing that. And it would be a big help if you help us keep the podcast going. Go over, rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. It means a lot. All right. So thank you for that. Now, today, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I'm talking with Twanda Young. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Twanda. She's a widely recognized leader, coach, speaker, and author of the book, Dare to Lead Differently. Chew on this 16 Bites for Bold Leaders. She is a decorated veteran with over 3 decades of service, and she aims to empower others through leadership development, conflict management, and career coaching. She's a sought after speaker. She inspires prestigious audiences, and she teaches at a graduate level courses. She's dedicated to extend her education and education with a focus on leadership excellence. And if that wasn't enough, her extensive list of military honors highlights Distinguished Service Medal. Outside of her military and professional achievements, her impact has been recognized through the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. And she's been incorporated into the Library of Congress collection. And so I am honored and pleased to have here with us today Twanda Young. Welcome to the podcast.
It is a great honor to be here. I was wondering who you were reading about. I wish my mom was listening so I could get some cool points.
You'll have to send the episode to everybody you know.
There you go. Sure will. Sure will. First thing.
All right. So you heard me read your sort of, I don't want to say formal, but sort of official introduction. But why don't you tell us in your own words? First, anything you want to say about who you are, and then about the work you do. So, two things: who you are and the work you do.
So Tia is a proud mom of two heartbeats, Leah and Tyra. She's been married to her boyfriend for over 33 years, Tracy, who's currently working on his doctorate, DBA from North Central. And I am the proud child of Pastor Annie Lou Williamson and Willie James Williamson Sr. I'm one of seven, and yes, I'm the youngest, as you probably could tell even quickly by how I come across, according to what my siblings say about me. And I just see myself as a little snot-nosed girl from Darlington, South Carolina, who had the opportunity of God's grace to be able to be a first generational student attending Claflin University in Orangeburg, South Carolina, which is the oldest HBCU in South Carolina. And I've had the honor to serve my country for 3 decades, as you've shared, and in my career at a senior level of brigadier general, which not many get the opportunity to do, less than 1%, even lesser percent for minorities, and most definitely gender consideration, even lesser percent. So I'm just happy about impacting other people's lives and being able to make better leaders for society. That's my passion and my goal.
Yes, I mean that's a fascinating history. All right, so what you hear in my hesitance, because I just had 12 questions pop in my head. And so my head saying, no, stay on track. And the other ones, but that's so interesting. Ask about that. And the other one saying, no,
Oh,
stay
let's
on
go
track.
there. Let's go there. Let's go.
Okay, let's go with that. So interesting. And then I'll try to get us back on track. We'll see. All right. So tell us about the type of general that's so rare, 1%, less than 1%. I'm guessing people might be like me and not familiar. So tell us what that is.
So in the military, you have your different ranks. So you have enlisted rank and officer rank. I came in through ROTC from going through college, getting my degree and coming in as what we would say a second lieutenant. So I was at the bottom level of the officer tier. So you go from second lieutenant to first lieutenant to captain to major to lieutenant colonel to colonel to the rank that I got to hold was brigadier general. And then there's three other levels: major general, lieutenant general, and general. So I was three steps away from the highest rank.
Oh,
So in the military, that getting to that level, less than 1% are serving in the military, right, worldwide, choosing to serve their nation this way. Uh, as you that number comes down, even lesser percent, mostly it's male dominated, that are in the higher ranks at the senior executive level. So for a female to get to that level, it speaks to your character, it speaks to your leadership acumen, and it speaks to what I call a P3 mentality of being persistent, persevering, and patience with the process. And then from there, you can go to the other levels that I said: the major general, lieutenant general, and general. So it's an honor to just make it to that point, but then to be a female and an African American female in the minority, just it speaks to God's blessings, as I call it.
yes, yes. I'm very struck by that and your ability to lead in a way that is exceptional that allowed you to move there. Now I'm going to come back to that. Hopefully, I'll remember to come back to this leadership. Um, it sounds like a gift that you have or that you developed. But before we do that, tell us about what you're doing now, and then we'll go back to that conversation.
Okay. Oh, right now I am the CEO and founder of LT3 Leadership Solutions. So I've been retired for about 4 years from the military. And when I got out of the military, of course, I'm used to a fast-paced, highly, adrenaline kind of situation of my days being full and packed. And once I retired, I was twirling my fingers saying, okay, I've been retired for a couple of months. This has been fun, but I need to get back into the game. I need to add value, give something back. I'm a giver by nature. And I had the opportunity to become a professor at Bowie State University, teaching leadership development and conflict management and career management. And I still teach there. I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing the light bulb go off in my students' eyes. I enjoy the challenging questions that they give, the critical thinking that you can see it morphing in their brains. And I just enjoy impacting people for the better. So that it gave me that opportunity to do so. So that kind of scratched the itch, if you will, for a little while. And then it was after a year or so, it's like, okay, so I need to do something else. And I decided, a real way of really giving my time, sharing my knowledge, skills, and abilities, and growing myself even more as a leader was to start LT3 Leadership Solutions. And because I had seen what I saw when I was on active duty and the need for mentorship, the need for executive coaching, the need for more comprehensive training, that thus I created this company, and we have been enjoying uh, speaking. So as you shared, this keynote speaker, motivational speaker, inspirational speaker, whatever you want to call it. I love speaking. As you can tell, I love talking. So we do that, but just different modalities of being able to share value. Because
Mhm.
my mantra is, if you're not sharing value, then really what is the point?
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let me pick up where you left off in there, where you talked about you're like, okay, I need to do something else, and you just said it like so casually, and I decided to start my own company. Now, there may be somebody who's listening who might be thinking about their own. So let's help them understand a little more how a little bit of your process and maybe to inspire them wherever they are. So, how was that? What was that process like? What even put it in your mind? Because there are lots of ways you could share. You said you were teaching,
Mhm.
at the college level, and it sounds like you might have been speaking. So, the ways that you could give back. Tell us a little bit more about what happened around that time as you decided to create your own company to share in this way.
So my husband and I, honestly, we have what I call our fireside chats out in the garage, where we have our little heater and we go out there and just chat. And we were talking one day, and I was telling him about, I'm feeling fulfilled in what I'm doing as far as doing the lecturing. That's good, but I feel I need to do more. I can do more. I want to do more. And he said, well, why don't you, you've always thought about it, when you were in uniform about starting your own company, but that kind of faltered because my work was priority for me. As my girls say, I bleed green. So I was very focused in on my job and my soldiers, civilians, and contractors that worked with me. And as I began to think about it, I had to do some research. So yeah, I may say it's nonchalantly like I started a company. I did, but I don't want to give off the wrong perception. It takes work. It takes back to that statement I said of being persistent about knowing exactly what you want to do. And once you know what you want to do, now look at who out there is doing what you're doing and doing it to a level of excellence that you want to surpass. Notice I didn't say meet, I said surpass.
Mhm.
And start picking their brains, start looking at how they're maneuvering in the space. That's that persistence piece of getting your plan together. So you ask yourself the questions: what is the goal? Why is it the goal? How do I think I'm going to attain that goal? What am I going to do with it when I get it? And what is the value that it brings? I'll always circle back to the value.
Mhm.
And from there, now we move into perseverance, because that's where I am right now. It's in that perseverance. Although when you start, you got to have other stakeholders, I call them board of directors, if you will, that can seed into your life, that can share, when the empress doesn't have clothes on, that no, yeah, you might want to do that, but your bank account says something different. Or you might want to do that, but you're good at doing the speaking, but as far as that administrative piece and the social media piece, you need some help. So in your perseverance is understanding that you're going to have to go through some challenges of figuring things out. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to feel deflated sometimes. But if you are truly persistent about what it is and focus and dedicated to what you're doing, you'll continue to push. And then the last thing is, throughout all of this, no matter how long you've had a company, starting, thinking about it, wondering about it, writing it down in your journal, give yourself patience with the process.
Yes.
Yeah, give
Yes.
yourself grace and compassion.
Yes, that sounds like a framework that's been well thought out and that you have experienced and taught and learned from, it sounds like.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so now let's go. I'm trying to unpack some of your career journey because I'm thinking there's somebody listening right now or watching right now who's in their career and they're thinking kind of like what you said. And tell your husband that I said, and I'll speak for the audience, that we said thank you. That during your fireside chat, he kind of helped you come back to where you were. So
Yeah.
you were saying to him, I feel like there's something more. So there's somebody somewhere in their career right now listening to us saying, I feel like there's something more. And fortunately for you, you had someone who reminded you of something that was on your heart years ago. Because he said to you, you were thinking about starting your own company sometime before. So that's a lesson for people who are listening. Maybe there's something that years ago they kind of put aside. So tell us, do you remember when he said that? Did you remember actually thinking about that years ago or earlier than that conversation?
Yes, that seed was planted, but I didn't water it. So it didn't grow, because I
Ah,
didn't focus on it.
mm,
Once I had the ability to kind of focus on it and do kind of like what your background shows of the sticky notes, my favorite things, of really trying to map out and share for myself a clear vision.
mhm,
Anything that you're going to do, you got to have a clear vision as to what it is that you want to do. And sometimes it gets a little shaky because it changes, right? It evolves, it moves. It's not a noun, it's a verb. It keeps moving and morphing into what it is that you really want it to become.
mhm,
But it also, for you to have that vision, is to be able to share it with people that are going to be your supporters. I initially remember when I first started thinking about LT3, and LT3, by the way, stands for Leah, Tyra, Tracy, Tia. So I wanted to create something that was going to have a lasting legacy for my heartbeats and something that would surpass me. And as I began to think about it and try to share with them what the vision was, I remember Leah telling me, Mom, come on, you are all over the place. You want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do this. Can you hone it down? Can you calm your mind and hone down what it really is you want to do? And at the end of the day, when I gave it some thought and put in some work, put the reps in, the essence of what I love doing and my passion, and I feel is my purpose, is seeding into other leaders to make them better for society. And you do that through different ways. But initially on, I couldn't explain that. I was everywhere of what I thought I wanted to do. So I would encourage them, if you don't have someone that's in your corner, listen in to podcasts like this and listen to an old seasoned general tell you about her experience. Get a piece of paper. I don't care whether it's a butcher board or whatever you have in your space, but then start writing down those seeds that you thought about long ago. And then pick the one that really kind of speaks to you out of all of them and begin to see what the future can be. Project what it is that you desire and then backwards plan on what would it take to get to that point. Who do I need to be in my corner to help me do this? What other skills or certifications I may need? For me, yes, I've been teaching as a professor. I've done 33 years in the military doing nothing but leadership training and developing well over 1,000 or more leaders. But in this space, I needed some certifications to kind of rekindle, retweak, right? And bring me up to speed. So I got certified by John Maxwell as a speaker, coach, and trainer. So those kinds of things that you know you need to do to shore up your space to make you the authority and give you the confidence to speak with clarity, do those things. But you got to write a plan. You know, in the Bible it says, write a plan, make it plain, you know, and then put it up where you can see it. Write a note I would write and have until my husband told me, you got too much lipstick on all of these mirrors, you know. But writing things, you know, start strong, end stronger. That's a mantra that my family is I've always shared that with my girls. And the reason for that is I want you to start strong, but I want you to get momentum. When you got momentum, you're moving. And you're moving hopefully in the right direction that you want to go to achieve your goals so that you can end stronger. And ending stronger means that there's some growth that you're going to have happen through that process. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And you mentioned about the stickies behind me. This actually is the outline for a book that I'm finishing up and going to the publisher soon. Yes.
Oh,
And thank you, thank you. And you can't tell probably from where you're sitting, but these columns are the actual chapters. This is the storyboard slash outline that I use to actually write. So this was a functional thing. Some people think it was, I don't know what they think, but I didn't have any other white space, just a white wall that I can put it on. But I'm like, I need to see this because,
yeah.
I work full time as a professor, and so I'm not always working on the book. So it may take time for me to get back. It could be a couple of weeks, and then I'm like, where did I leave off? What am I thinking? So this visual outline and storyboard is still functional for me. Strange thing, I was kind of embarrassed to put it up at first because I'm thinking, oh, now people are going to see it on Zoom, right? Because I'm like, thought I should have something nice and fancy, but I'm like, this is the only place I have it, and I'm going to forget this thing. I need it.
I commend you for being innovative and overcoming that concern about what other people will think. That key now that's as they say, my mom's a pastor, so and been pastoring for 36 years. My mom's 90, my dad's 91. They've been married 73 years and been
Oh
in the
my goodness.
so for me,
Wow. They've been married 73 years. We need to just congratulate them right here and now.
yeah, 73 years. So they have always told me, go for what you want in life. Be strategically focused about what you want, be intentionally committed, and be decisive and disciplined in your execution. And that requires for us not to see ourselves through everybody else's lens. So I commend you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to I want an autographed copy.
You have one, absolutely. And for everybody, the book that we're talking about is called Becoming a Purpose Maker.
Oh,
And
nah.
yes, and I teach people from my journey this story. I'm always pointing to the wall when I talk about the book for some reason. It's all one for me, right?
That's your baby. That's your baby.
Yeah, and it chronicles my career journey finding my purpose. It took me over 20 years. And I created a system to make decisions. So I always have fulfillment because I'm always in alignment with my purpose. And like you, I said, at one point, I said, I need to teach this because it's been so meaningful for me. Let me teach others. And so I'm writing it in the book to teach others, becoming a purpose maker. And for anybody listening, uh, Twanda, you have yours because we've been connected. But for anybody who's listening who's not, um, in this conversation and you're like, well, how can I get it? Just follow me on LinkedIn and I'll let you know. You'll be the first to know when the wait list starts for the book. LinkedIn at Robin L. Owens, PhD, at Robin L. Owens, PhD. So anyway, I just want to take a moment to do that because we were talking about the book. But now I want to get back to you and this leadership because
Okay.
this is also apparently you have some gifting for it. For you to go for that journey and to get ranked as high as you did in the military, there are some leadership gifting and skills that happen somewhere. Would you say that's true?
I would say slightly yes, but I think it's more so through experience that when I came into the military, I came into it because, as I shared, coming from humble beginnings, I was blessed to go to Claflin on a 4-year all expense paid scholarship, but I didn't know where I was going afterwards, right? And went into ROTC, loved the camaraderie, loved the structure. My mom and dad, they're very strict. So to get out the house and to be free was great for me. But I still long for that structure. And ROTC provided that. And I had siblings that had been in the military and were at the same time. And to see them go off and see the world and come back and share their stories and experiences and things of that sort. So when I went in, they told me, well, we don't have an officer in the family, so you're going to have to be an officer because all we have are enlisted. And the joke was in the military is that officers tell you what to do, enlisted do what they're told. And they always told me, you always have been hard headed, so you're not going to do well with somebody telling you what to do. I said, there's always going to be somebody higher than me, that's going to tell me. But that was the running joke. But going into ROTC and then going into the military, after I got into it and got to see, go to places like American Samoa, Hawaii, Japan, Korea, free ticket to Afghanistan, but being able to meet people, like we were talking earlier before we started, meeting people from different cultures, seeing how their perspectives intrigued me. So I stayed. And then as those experiences, and I saw that my influence that I had was able to help someone else meet their goals, kind of gave me I would say selfish, it gave me a great feeling
Yeah,
that I could help someone.
yeah.
And at the same time, help take care of my family and ensure that my kids had a good education. They were well-rounded of being able to say that they've gone to these places. They know how to deal with people regardless of your gender or your color of your skin. They treat people like you want to be treated with dignity and respect. So all of that made me stay. And I enjoyed it. I
Yeah,
had fun. There were
yeah.
some heck of a days, but and some interesting challenges that I had to persist through. But when I came on the outside, on the other side of those things, I was stronger, I was better, and I was more informed on how to make a better decision going into another challenge.
Yeah, yeah, good for you. Good for you. And you said you had, as you were going along, you noticed you had influence on other people. That's the leadership thing I'm talking about, whether it's your gift or your skill or you developed, they wanted to they were influenced by the way you were doing things. So I'm saying this for a particular reason because we're still trying to inspire people who are listening, right? And I'm using your story, what I see in your story. Okay. And you said your sibling said, you know, you probably, not going to do too good with people telling you what to do. You want to be the one telling. All right, so let's take that. Were you, and I try to go back, were you little Tawanda kind of telling people what to do and not necessarily in a mean way, but was there anything that you recall from your early years where you were telling people what to do, so to speak?
Um,
Or would
Goodness.
your siblings say you were somebody who kind of, whether it was guiding in a certain way, teaching, not literally like as a teacher, but like
I've
you
always
were the
been,
young one, so I don't know, because usually the young one receives all that. But go ahead.
I have always been and still am one that's in the family that my nieces and nephews come to for guidance. If they're planning to do something that's normally outside the left and right parameters of what our matriarch, my mom, says to do, and they're trying to get in there to get it approved, I'm the one that helps smooth it over or whatever. Uh, yeah, I would agree with you on that. I'll tell you a quick anecdotal story. My brother was an E5 when I first was a second lieutenant. I was at Fort Jackson, my first duty station, so he came to visit me at my office. And as he came into the office, he had to check in with my assistant, and my assistant told him the LT will be out, take a seat. So when I walked in as an officer, him as an enlisted, he had to snap to the position of attention. Oh, that felt good. Oh, it even feels good right now to tell you about it. And then, of course, I said at ease and come on into my office, very, very professionally. So as we get into my office to close my door, well, he pushes me out of the way, gets behind my desk, and he puts his feet up on my desk. And I say to him, Dennis, you can't do that. I'm in charge. I am in charge. I tell you what to do. He was like, oh, you're just my little sister. So I get on the phone, I call my mom, and I tell my mom, Dennis is in my office, won't let me be in, and behind my desk, and she's like, don't make your sister cry and all that stuff. So he gets up, yes, ma'am, gets up and comes around. But that's how my career has been. I have always been taught to be humble
Mm-hmm.
and to count leading other people as an honor. And I think when we lose sight of that, that it's an honor to
Hmm.
have influence over others and the ability to impact somebody's life for the better or for the worse.
Hmm.
Now, I will tell you, I have no issues doing punishment or redirection when necessary. But first, I need to make sure I've done everything possible to help you be successful. And if I haven't, then I need to coach, mentor, and guide you to that point. And if you're still not getting it, then my job I see is to tell you, sweetheart, this ain't for you. You tried to give it all, but this ain't for you. Let me help you find what is your purpose
Yeah.
and what brings you a smile every morning when you get up and doing things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I would say yeah. They've always said I've been the bossy one.
Yeah. And the reason why I highlight that in your story is because, again, it might encourage people to think about their early life and what their siblings or someone said to them early, so it could help give them some clues about this if they're looking for what else, what's next. So your story hopefully will inspire them in that regard. And so the listener of the podcast, the reason why I created the podcast was for what I call high achieving women particularly high achieving women who are at that point where you're talking about what happened to you. Well, I think there's more, and they're looking for the next thing. They're feeling like um, there's something more that's more meaningful for them. Something's more aligned with their purpose. So that's where they are in their journey. And when I say high achieving women, I'll tell you what I mean. They're responsible, ambitious in a positive way. They're the one in their professional lives. People come to them for advice and just want to always like, what's your thoughts on this, whether it's related to what they do or not. in their family and communities, neighborhood, whatever, people come to them, hey, they're the one that they come to them for advice. And they're always supporting others, and they're the ones who are doing that, which I think is a good thing. So then I thought, well, I'll create a podcast for all of us to come together and support each other because we're the ones always supporting. And then, especially if they're looking for purpose, because that's something I found, and I'll talk to other people like you who found purpose to help them kind of get to where they are. So that's the listener of the podcast, the ideal listener. All right. So now, with all that in mind,
Okay.
any of that, you can, and for me, they don't have to have all those things, maybe one or two or all of them, but that's a general idea. But just to give you a picture of who we're talking to, and you've already gave us so many nuggets, but what's some advice you would have for them in this search for more meaning and purpose, and they want to express it through their work or their career? What's something, and I mean, even in their life too, but I call this leadership purpose because it's people who really want to express their purpose through their career. So what's something you've learned that you can share from your professional life, from your personal life, that's just a takeaway for them from the podcast today?
I would say, there's a quote that I have come up with, says, stop committing adultery on yourself and start investing in yourself. And I know you're looking like, okay,
Yeah, I want to hear, what does that mean?
so what I mean by that is, as you shared earlier, we tend to give out a lot, and that's good. Sharing your knowledge, skills, and abilities, helping someone to be able to find their purpose, but don't do it to your own detriment. That's for those high achievers. Give, but give within the parameters that don't leave you drained. The investing part is because if you're drained, you're going to stop doing what? You're going to stop doing those things that causes you to be that person that everybody comes to, because you're no longer investing in you. You're investing more time and energy in everyone else. And for your listeners, for those who are saying, I'm burnt out, then I will tell you to stand back, relook at where you are and what it is that you truly, truly are passionate. What gives you butterflies? What's always on your mind when you're talking to people? What somehow it always gets into that conversation. There's a thread that gets into that conversation. If you talk to me now, talk to me tomorrow, talk to me tonight, somewhere I'm gonna get some leadership nuggets out to share with you. Even when my family and I go play for family night, and I'll make a post about, you got to lead at home before you can lead anywhere. And they're like, Mom, this is just a family night. No, there's a lesson to be learned. So I would tell them to start thinking about that, but don't commit adultery on yourself, putting yourself on the back burner, not, again, going back to seeding into yourself, surrounding yourself with people of who you want to be. We attract who we are. Learn to attract who you want to be. Because then, if you're hanging around with, as my mom would say, a whole bunch of turkeys, you're never going to fly. But if you can point out and get a couple of eagles in there, and they can teach you how to flap those wings and how to maneuver in this space of contracting with the government is what you want to do, what seals and certifications you need to get that done. If it's where you want to get your PMP qualification, people who are already PMP or Lean Six Sigma qualified can give you tips and nuggets about how to get yourself on that journey. But make sure daily, we need to daily seed into ourselves. I don't care if it's 5, 10 minutes. I always share with my people, put yourself on your schedule. And then give yourself some time to recharge, relax, and refocus your energy on what it is you want to do for that day. But people tend, and I would tell you that I'm one of the culprits of giving, just giving and giving, because I still have soldiers and civilians that call me today And I keep telling them, I've been removed for 4 years. I don't know what's really happening in the military. And oh, yes, you do, ma'am. Yes, we know you. We know how anal you were about keeping up on everything and policies and procedures. So, but to seed into themselves, to be strategically focused, and I know I've said it before, but to be strategically focused about what it is you want to do. Find what that intentional value brings, not only for you, but for other people, and then be decisive in your decision making. Buy Robin's book. It's going to help you in your decision making. Buy my book, Dare to Lead Differently. But give yourself some grace. In my book, Destiny Expose, Leading Lady Volume 1, my chapter in that book talks about perfection being the shadow killer of leadership excellence. Give yourself some grace, because perfection is an illusion. It's something you may strive for. And if that striving is a good thing, because that means we're learning, we're cultivating the soul, we're making sure that we're challenging ourselves day in and day out. Hang with people that are going to challenge you. You should never be the smartest person in the room. While I was I was a general officer, I made sure I wasn't the smartest one in the office. Otherwise, we would have died on the vine. We would have never been able to give services and support and benefits out to the soldiers and families the way we needed to. So I wanted smarter people in the room to give me a different perspective. I wanted to have a little conflict. Conflict is good. Don't run away from it. Don't avoid it. Learn how to manage it. Not all conflict can be resolved, but it can be managed. But you got to have the tools in your toolkit to learn what is my go-to management style. Cultivate your own self-learning. That's how you increase your leadership. That's how you increase your relationships. And that's how you just, that seed that's in you. There's somebody that's listening that says, oh, I remember I wanted to start this business, but I don't know. I don't have everything. Start watering. Get you some books about business. Listen to some podcasts. Make sure that you cultivate that seed and don't let it not grow. Because if it doesn't grow, long haul in your life, you're going to look back and you're going to say, wow, I missed the opportunity. I got on the bus of Abilene with everybody else about, nah, that's all right. It just wasn't for me. No, you have the ability to do what you need to do. You have the intellectual capacity to be what you want to be, but you got to understand you must put in the work. And don't let fear turn fear on its head. Be ferocious about your goals. Be energetic and enthusiastic about what you're going after. Make sure that you align yourself with people that are going in the direction you're going. And then be resilient. Be dogmatic in your resiliency. That in your heart of hearts, this is my purpose. This is what I'm meant to do. This is the value I'm meant to bring to society and those around me. And don't let anyone tell you that you cannot do it. That's what I would tell them.
You say that like, that's all. Well, thank you. It sounds like some heartfelt and deep wisdom. So I appreciate you sharing that. So and now I'm guessing somebody might say, well, how can I hear more? How can they reach you? Where can they follow you?
Well, my website is LT3Leads.com. And that's a LT with the number 3, leads.com. I can be found on all social media, Twanda Young. On Facebook, I give out, as well as LinkedIn, a nugget of the day, something to chew on every day. And they can go out on my website, schedule a discovery meeting just to chat. The key thing for me is I'm willing to help you. We'll talk about costs later, or we won't even talk about it, depending upon what your needs are. My goal and my focus is to help. I've been blessed to be able to be in a great financial standing, so I enjoy doing what I do and sharing value and giving back to society and making leaders be better for the people who come into work every day to have a better work experience so that we have less of those fatalities that we hear about.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom here today and your generous heart to offer people that offer. And just for all you've done for your service and learning over the years and your willingness to come and share with us today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the honor. I appreciate it. I enjoyed the conversation.
I did too. Okay, everyone. And so I encourage you to follow me on LinkedIn or the other social media channels. They're at Robin L. Owens, PhD, at Robin L. Owens, PhD. But I spend most of my time at LinkedIn, and that's where you can find out when the wait list for my book goes live, Becoming a Purpose Maker. So I'm looking forward to seeing you over there. And until next time, this is Dr. Robin.